Books Vladimir Putin doesn't want you to read, Part 2, History of Ukraine. Our Enemies Will Vanish by Yaroslav Trofimov. This is a brilliant first-hand account of the outbreak of the Russo-Ukrainian War. It tells the story in intimate details of the first few days of the fighting, told from the perspective of the people who were there, who lived it, who experienced it in all its raw and brutal details. It tells the human tragedy of what was happening on the front line in those early moments. Sergei Plotky's Chernobyl. This is about the Chernobyl disaster, the world's biggest environmental catastrophe that unfolded in Ukraine in the dying days of the Soviet Union, and the terrible bungled reaction by the Soviet government, the ginormous environmental, ecological, and human costs of the decisions that were made by the government in Moscow, and how people in Ukraine had to live with the price of that. Sergei Plotky's The Russo-Ukrainian War. This tells an overarching story of the events that led up to the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022. It looks at the collapse of the Soviet Union. It looks at the emergence of Ukraine as a democratic society, the battle within Ukrainian society between pro-Moscow oligarchs and the authoritarian tradition against Democrats and pro-Western activists. It looks at the efforts of Moscow to maintain control over Ukraine and the Maidan Revolution, the invasion of Crimea, and then ultimately the invasion of Ukraine by Russia in 2022. This is a brilliant, essential book if you want to understand the current conflict. You can find all of these books in my Amazon storefront in the link on my bio. If you know any more books about Ukraine, let me know. And part 3 of our book series on Ukrainian history is coming up very soon. Follow Ancient to Recent for more book recommendations just like this.